And good morning and welcome to MD3 Lax Podcast with McKenna Davis. We got a special guest here today, Eva Pronti from Duke. Hi, Eva. How are you?
Hello, everyone. Good. How are you, Ronnie? Hi, McKenna. Hi, Ave.
Both of you coming off some big games this past weekend, and I was just scrolling through the top the rankings that came out, and Eva. Last week on the podcast, we had Molly Guzik on from Syracuse, and she talked to us a little bit about her experience at Syracuse, their ups and their downs as far as climbing up and down the rankings. Boston College holds at the number one spot for I think this is the 8th week in a row they're holding at the number one. But you guys have been up and down a little bit, but you managed to stay at the number 13 this week. And when that's coming off a loss to Virginia, and Virginia actually is 14. What are your thoughts on the Virginia game? Obviously, you were 1-7 in that game. We'll talk a little bit about that, but tell us a little bit about what moving up the ranks. I think you guys started like in the 20s.
Yeah, I think in the beginning of the year, we were definitely motivated to move up from the 20s and had, we played BC early on. It was a tough game for us, very talented. But I think that that game and losing at Hopkins was like a learning opportunity for us. And we knew, going into further ACC play, we wanted to play well. We had that Clemson game circled on our radar. So going to that game and winning that game was a big win for us. And I think like a motivating factor then going into the following week, beating Campbell and going to UVA. I mean, we were feeling really good. I think that first quarter was a really good reflection of, who we are and how well we can play. I guess the game didn't turn out how we wanted to, but I think that that's something we can take and learn from going into these next stretch of games, which are winnable games for us. I'm excited to, play those games and continue to grow as a team. But yeah, I think that Clemson game was a really, showing point for us. And we had, again, a close game with Hopkins. We've had a lot of close games, and I'm excited just kind of for the rest of the season and growing in that sense.
Okay. And McKenna, you guys are coming up. Hold on. You got that, Fitz? Another podcast or something keeps chiming in on our channel. All right, McKenna, can you hear me?
Yes. Yeah.
All right. So, McKenna, you guys are coming off a win against Louisville. You guys are still holding to stop, as a top spot. And you had already played Duke, so you guys really have nowhere to go. If you keep winning, you're going to stay at number one. What's the vibe in the locker room about, trying to keep the number one spot, having the target on your back? And, you got Stanford this weekend, who just came off a big win against Yale. And, they moved up, Yale moved down. But you got Stanford this Saturday, and what's the mindset of the locker room going into this weekend?
Well, we have Brown on Tuesday, so very quick turnaround for us. A lot of meetings and practice today. And then travel trip to Stanford. We love being on the road. We think it's more of a challenge, not playing at home, having a different routine, and West Coast vibe is going to be different. But we're very excited, and, our team, we like having this target on our back. So every win, we kind of we try to learn from all of our wins as well and not let the past games get too big and keep focusing on the next game.
And like you said, I missed the fact that you do play Brown on Tuesday. And, Brown has been up and down as well. But, speaking of the ACC, and you guys both playing in the ACC, trying to get prepared for the ACC tournament, obviously. Eva, what's the mindset in your locker room as far as where you guys are? Like I said, you're held at 13. I kind of think that Virginia should be ahead of you because of they did beat you this past weekend. But, not everyone is going to make the ACC tournament now that there's 12 teams in there. So how's your team prepare mentally for where you may fall in that ACC lineup?
Yeah, I think we know we need to win these next stretch of ACC games, and there needs to be no fall out in that sense. So I think that that's definitely on our mind that, again, as I said, like these next stretch of games are winnable games. We want to go 6-0 in these games. And I know we have like film today. So again, learning from that loss and how we can become better. I think there's a very positive mindset in the locker room, very, that we're a good team. We're growing. We're definitely young this year. So, taking the loss and the win against Clemson to learn is definitely really important. And I think a lot of girls see that.
And McKenna, your path ahead, you guys still have Stanford, as I said, you have Brown, you got Carolina, you got Syracuse. How's the mindset in the locker room as far as not just maintaining what you're doing, but planning for the ACC tournament and planning for the tournament after that? It's not easy to go week in and week out playing these teams with, like I said, with the target on your back. But not just you, but how about the rest of the team's mindset and the coaches of how you're going to prepare for what's ahead of you?
Well, I think that the team and the coaches, we really like being in the ACC because of all the competitiveness. And, just because you win ACC games, like ACC comes down to like points against, especially come tournament time. And like you said, not everyone's going to be making the tournament. So when we do see an ACC game like come up on our schedule, we know that game is extra important, and not just to win, but to put like a specific amount of points on the board or to hold a certain amount of teams to a certain amount of goals, just for like that extra bit of confidence going in for the tournament. And we really like the challenge, and our coaches do a really good job of preparing us for that and preparing us to compete. And the team really rallies around the competitive energy going into those weeks.
So both of you,
they're fun. Like, any ACC rival, it's a fun game, and I think that's the best part about playing in this conference is no matter where an ACC team like stands in the rankings, they're going to be talented. They're going to have girls. They're going to have girls that are going to be on your scouting report that it's going to be a good game and it's going to be a fight no matter what. So I think that that's a lot of fun in that sense. And back to what McKenna said, playing on the road and playing Stanford, I think it's interesting, to go to these different schools and to experience an away game. I mean, we don't get to play Stanford this year, but I'm looking forward to in the future playing them because that's a new rival. That's just someone new in the ACC that you can compete with, and I think that that's the best part about playing, ACC games.
Now, both of you were when you were in high school, were recruited by several different schools, not just ACC schools, but Big Ten and Ivy and so forth. So, Eva, I'll start with you. You had a lot of options to go to different schools, but being an integral part of your process as I was, the ACC was always the goal to play in because it's perceived to be the best conference. What do you got to say for the younger kids in Monster right now that are, looking to follow, possibly follow in your footsteps? We do have Shea Angelo, who's 26 Monster committed to Duke. But, where do they have to be mindset-wise and attitude-wise and work ethic-wise in order to take advantage of an ACC opportunity like you did?
Yeah, I think it goes a lot to work ethic. I think you have to, work on things on your own, but also, understand the game. I think a lot about the hard thing about, going into college, especially the ACC, is you're a part of a team and you really have to adapt to, the team mindset and learning how to run the plays, run the offense and that stuff. So yes, you can develop your own skills and yes, you can do this, but I think one of the hardest things about going into college is adapting to working within a team. So I think if you're able to do that early on, in your career in college, it makes things a lot easier. And I think when you're choosing a school, you have to figure out, what's the best fit for you? What kind of playing style do you like to play in? What do you like from the girls you're playing with? And I mean, I also think it's competitive. You have to want to come in each day. You have to love the game of lacrosse. You have to, you can't ever be satisfied and, I had a good game, last week. No, you're coming in on Monday. You have a new game that week. How are you going to prepare, mentally, physically? So there's a lot to think about, I think, playing in the ACC. And it's every week you have to be ready to go, and it has to be a new team where you can learn from last week, but you have a new opponent. So I think your ability to, work hard, to adapt week to week, and to have a good mindset, I think that's something I would recommend. That's my top recommendation.
Now, McKenna, you obviously are right currently in a little different situation than Eva is. You're you're 21, you're a year older than her. She redshirted her first year, so she's got 3 years left, 2 years left after this, right, Ava?
Yeah.
And Ava had 1 and 7 this past weekend versus Virginia. She had 6 assists prior to that in a game, which is great. So she's really coming into her own. But you're kind of on the the final way out, right? Being a senior, and I know that's sad, but being an All-American, a multi-year All-American, and having the weight of the world on you to be the quarterback of the number 1 team in the country, what is how did you get to where you are right now?
Obviously, kind of like what Ava said, you gotta be able to work and you gotta be able to show up day in and day out and not just work for yourself, but work for your teammates. And, you're surrounded by 35 other girls who want to do nothing else but win and succeed. And I think that makes you work so much harder. And, I don't get to where I am without having the support of all my teammates, the support of the coaching staff, guiding me. And I think at the end of the day, it all comes down to the final goal is to win. And winning doesn't come easy. With playing in May is one of the hardest things to do. But being there the past 3 years, a lot of us know what it takes to get there and the sacrifices that have to be made. So understanding that the journey is going to be difficult, but in the end, it's really fulfilling and really rewarding. It's just kind of something that I keep in the back of my mind.
Okay. Ava, we touched a little bit based on the fact that you redshirted your first year. I was right there with you step by step in leading up to that decision. But I want to hear it from you. I want you to tell the audience, I want you to tell the younger players how that decision came about. And, do you regret that decision, or are you really happy about the decision you made to redshirt and be where you are right now?
I honestly think it's one of the best decisions I've ever made. I think that it kind of goes back to, when I came into college my freshman year, the teams were a lot older. I kind of came in within that COVID year. Our team was large. We had a lot. I was young, and I think it kind of goes back to, right, we can all have these skills, but you have to know the game, right? And you had to know how, as a freshman coming in, one of the hardest things is to work in a new system. And I think, being able to take that year to really learn how our system works, to practice, around some great girls, to learn from Katie DeSimone and some great attackers who had been there for a while, I was able to, prepare just being on the sideline and watching for the next 2 years. I think it helped me a lot, where I was able to grow in ways, not just with my skills, but also mentally. So I think that allowed me to take that years of growth here and to also focus, on school and kind of finding out who I am at Duke. And the academics are tough. So I think it really made for my freshman year to be enjoyable in that sense, where I was able to kind of take that edge off. But, I think it's given me the opportunity to now play for 4 years. And I really can't complain. I love being here, and I'm so glad I get an extra year. And I think that if you have the opportunity at a school where, you might not play your first year, I would recommend it to anybody.
Now, obviously, Hannah, my daughter Hannah, is in the same situation at Boston College. She handled the situation all by herself. But I think that, McKenna was there to be a rock for her through her decision-making process this year. But McKenna, you didn't have the same opportunity to say, hey, I want a redshirt this year when you came in as a freshman. You didn't even have that choice, right? You got thrown right into the mix. In my opinion, due to injury, I think that you got a chance to play early as a freshman. You were playing with Charlotte North. You're playing with Jen Medjid, some legends of the game. And to come in and have that opportunity to play right away, do you think that was based on all the work you put in and what you deserved, or was that just happened? You had a great opportunity and you took advantage of it?
I think I had a really good opportunity, and I was kind of alternating with the A-midi lines in the fall and just kind of playing around with the position, still having fun, learning. And then unfortunately one of our best middies got hurt in one of those fall games, and that opened up that A-midi line, the starting A-midi line, which was really upsetting because, Courtney Weeks was phenomenal, and I love her, and she's so great. And, I think that opportunity came, and I didn't really realize like what had just happened and like what opportunity I was walking into. And it wasn't until I came back in the winter where I was like, oh my gosh, I actually am like, I'm playing like in the starting seven with this offense. And, like shifting that mindset too is, being on the field with Charlotte and Jen and, like Belle Smith, Kayla Martello, Caitlin Mossman, all these really amazing players as a freshman was a really, really good experience for me. Just because I got to learn and I got to watch and play with some of the greatest people ever. But I do think that came with a really good opportunity that just kind of, fate ran its course.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think that when I kind of came in, we had 14 attackers that were, half of them were fifth years and seniors, and they'd all been there. I mean, it's an experience type of thing, right? No matter, you could have the best skills, the best stick skills, but those girls had been there. They'd run the offenses. They knew what they were doing. They knew, their daily routines. As a freshman coming in, right, I'm trying to figure all of this out, and on top of this, I just think freshman year is really a tough thing, especially at a high academic school. It's a lot of adapting and it's a lot of learning. So, playing on top of that, I give a lot of credit to a lot of freshmen who are playing this year. And I think it's a really impressive thing to play your freshman year, but a lot of it does come with circumstances. And I think that in the circumstance I was put in, it was one of the best decisions I could have made. And, I get to now further my academics here at Duke and go to Fuqua, which is a business school, which is an amazing opportunity. And I get to, again, play another year of lacrosse with a great group of girls. And I think it's a great opportunity. And I'm happy that, Hannah was able to make that decision too. Yeah. And I think it's awesome.
Well, Kenna, you're on, like, as I said, you're a senior. Pretty soon you're going to play your last game on Alumni Stadium. And, hopefully, we talked a little bit about last week, and I'll ask Eva the same question in a second, but, we talked about winning, and, is your season this year, being a senior, being your last year, going to be a success if you don't win? And you were very adamant to say, no, it's win or nothing, right? So you have a lot of seniors on your team. You got some fifth years that aren't coming back next year. You got, I think, 5 seniors that are in your class that aren't coming back next year. How do we keep their mindset positive and in a way to, win a national and win back-to-back national titles, knowing that if they lose it, it's the last time they're going to play at Boston College?
I think it's something that we talk about every day. We always talk about getting back to Final Four weekends and whether or not we're talking about like fully winning it, but we do make sure that that's something that we're working towards every day is playing for a national championship, whether it's in practice or whether it's in a different game. But it's something that we talk about and we consistently remind each other of, being able to just look at a photo of Gillette Stadium and think this is where I want to be type of thing.
And Ava, you're in the middle. Obviously, you have 2 years left after this, but you've seen, you've seen the process. You come home in the summers and you play with Monster and you play with all the kids that come back, McKenna and so forth. She's coming off a national title. You guys are still building to get to the Final Four again, to have that opportunity. Is that something that you guys talk about every day in your locker room about making the Final Four, making that trip to Gillette this year, trying to win a national title? Or is it more, hey, let's keep just building and take one day at a time?
Yeah, I think it's a little bit of both, right? I mean, I think we kind of set large goals for ourselves. At the end of the year, yes, we would love to make it to the Final Four weekend and stuff like that. But yeah, I think it's game by game. I think for me especially, I'm a short-term goal kind of person, and I think that's how our team is. But we do have those long-term goals. But I think we know that you got to win games early on, and it's a long season. And I think we have the weapons and the girls to make it to Final Four weekend, but I think, you have to have some key wins and you have to continue to build, and I'm excited for that. And yes, we do mention it, but I'm really excited for where this team's going to be at the end of the year. So and I want it to be a Final Four weekend. I love to win too. Kind of talking like what McKenna said. I mean, been a part of Monster, been a part of Victor, two large winning programs. We've had some big wins here at Duke, and winning feels good. Winning the locker room always feels good. A week after a win is the best. So, once you have that winning, I think that we have that winning mentality, winning culture. I mean, Duke is definitely a winning school and has that win mindset. So, yeah, I think that making the Final Four is definitely on our mind.
So McKenna, you have like I talked earlier, a big schedule coming up. You do play Virginia, you do play Syracuse, you got Stanford this weekend, you got Carolina. So the meat of your schedule as far as competitiveness is coming up. You're undefeated. How are we learning every day in practice to understand that a loss isn't the end of the world with Boston College? I know that it's tough, in talking to the parents and talking to the kids, that winning is everything every single day. But the chances of going undefeated are not, probably in everybody's favor. So, what's going to happen to the Eagles when, if that rock falls and you do lose a game and, to bounce back and go for that national title?
Well, being undefeated obviously is really hard to keep doing and to do. So, I don't like to think about that moment getting too big. I don't really like to look at the record and be like, oh, 10-0, great. It fuels us, it makes us work harder, but I don't really consider us a team that stares at records and it's like, okay, how do we keep doing this? But I think our team also does a really good job of bouncing back after a loss. I mean, we look back to last year and our years past, we respond really well. And, we don't have to respond to a loss to continue to get better. We continue to work hard every day in practice, and we continue to learn from film, from games, from other teams. And it's just a mentality. It's all about that mental mindset of wanting to win and just wanting to grow and wanting to compete. And I think that competitive nature is something that BC talks about a lot, being able to show up every day and just compete and to work hard and, be gritty and to fight for extra moments in practice. That's what really pushes us.
So Boston College is 1, Duke is 13. There are some schools that I want your opinions on. Should they be in the top 5? The first one is we know Carolina's great. We know Northwestern's great. Maryland. Eva, 10-second elevator pitch. Maryland's number 4. What's your thoughts on that? Be honest. This is a podcast for you to be honest.
I think that they had a good win against Michigan. I don't know who else they really beat to be 4, but I would love to see. I'm excited to see them compete against Northwestern and Hopkins, and I think that that's when you can reevaluate that. But I don't think that they have. I think that their win against Michigan was big, but I think you have to continue to see that to maybe show that they're a top 5 team.
All right, McKenna, Yale dropped to 7. They're that was probably they beat Michigan earlier in the year, but they just dropped a game this past weekend. So they dropped, I think, 3 spots, from number 4. What are your thoughts on Yale?
They're playing in the big leagues now. First ACC opponent, Stanford, who is 1, new to the ACC, but 2, just a solid program overall. Yeah. And Stanford had a great win against them, and Yale, they're a great program, and I think as their schedule starts to get more competitive, they'll start to learn and they'll start to rise to the occasion a little bit. I think that they'll bounce back from this, but I also think that this was kind of a good opportunity for Stanford to take and play in a top 5 team, and now you got Stanford in the top 5.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think also one thing I have to say is I just think a lot of teams this year, it's a toss up for these games. The rankings are tough. It's hard to argue the top 3, but I really do think it's each week. It's tough to rank these teams, especially with Stanford joining the ACC. It's changed a lot of things. They've played some different opponents. I think week to week, it's hard.
Well, we can all tag team on Hopkins right now. I think Hopkins is the sleeper, right? They're on a win streak. They're on a 5-game winning streak. They just busted up USC, but they did beat Syracuse in overtime, which was a big ACC win, match for them. Stony Brook they beat. They lost to Florida and you guys beat them. Duke beat them earlier on in the season.
Oh no, we lost by 1 in overtime.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, I'm sorry. I'm looking at that
you're
wrong.
good. You're good.
Yep.
Yeah,
So
but-
Hopkins beat Duke, right? So they're a sleeper. But what are your guys' thoughts on them?
I think they're talented. I think they have some really talented. I think they're well coached. But they definitely have some talented players. It'll be interesting to see, as they continue to play Northwestern and Michigan. As I said, I think those are 2 tough games for them, getting into, the Big Ten schedule. But I think they've played a tough schedule so far. So I think we'll see.
They're the only team with 2 losses, in the top 7. Syracuse remains in the top 8 with 4 losses, which is surprising to me that they're still up there, especially with the losses that they've had. But so Florida keeps creeping around there. They're around number 9. Princeton's number 10. But let's jump on Virginia for a second. You guys just came off a loss to them. They didn't go ahead of you guys in the rankings. I think they should have. However, they have a couple losses. They're 5-3 as well. McKenna, give me your thoughts on Virginia.
Virginia's young. You look at their roster, and they graduated a lot of talent last year. So I think balancing the young side with the lack of experience and how can they gain experience, I think they're good. I mean, I wouldn't count out Virginia. They always show up in ACC tournament play. They show up at the end of the season, and I think based on how their schedule goes the rest of the season, I'm excited for them, but I think that I do think they have a longer road ahead of them with the younger girls.
So, Ava, your perspective on Virginia, you just played them, and you were 1-7 in the first quarter. You guys were up 8-1. You had a hand in every single point. Then I'm not sure, either you fell asleep or you went to the hot dog stand or whatever happened after that first quarter versus them. But what was the difference? Them marking you? I mean, you were killing them in the first quarter. What was the difference with the second half?
Yeah, I mean, they came out strong. They scored 3 goals in the first 2 minutes of the second half. They were resilient. I mean, I was impressed with, how they came out. I think that, they started winning the draw a little bit more, got some 50-50 balls. I would say there's some, calls here and there, but I think that they came out strong and, we just weren't really able to, rally back. But I think I was really, really happy with how we played in the first half, but we can learn a lot from, the second half and how we can become better. But this was a good win for Virginia in that sense that they were able to come back. But I was proud of how we performed in the first half, and I'm excited to watch the film and understand how we can become better and hopefully beat them down the road. So I think it was a tough loss, but it's something we can really learn from, and I'm happy that our team is going to take today to watch that film and evaluate what happened there.
All right, before we wrap it up here, North Carolina, do you have yet to play them? Boston College has yet to play Carolina. They're all over social media. They're scoring goals in bunches. The Humphrey sisters are, killing it down there. That seems to be where all the hype is with Carolina and the Humphrey sisters. I'm not sure, how that's going to affect the rest of the team, but they're both circled on your calendars, on your schedule, that game, especially seeing they're only, right down the road from you, Ava, and obviously McKenna, they're looking for a vengeance from last year. So, Ava, I'll start with you. What's your thoughts on Carolina?
Yeah, I mean, I think they're a talented group. I'm so pumped to play them. I mean, it's Duke, Carolina. It's always a fun day here at Duke. But I'm excited to play them. I think, again, they're talented, but I think they're beatable. I think any team in the ACC is beatable week to week. I think that if you come out strong, you can beat anybody. As UVA kind of showed, they came out strong in the second half. Anybody's beatable week to week, no matter, who you're playing. And I think that's, again, a testament to the ACC. There's talented players everywhere. And, who shows up on that day is going to win that game. So I'm excited to play them in that sense. And I think that they still are, they're young too. They lost a lot of girls, and you don't know how they're going to continue to evolve throughout the season. So we'll see.
McKenna, that's super, probably circled twice on your calendar. And obviously we don't want to look any other teams prior to them. But what's in your back mind about Carolina and all the hype around the Humphrey sisters?
I'm excited to play them. You know, all the hype on social media, it makes me want to play them more, and it really like lights the fire under our entire team. And I think it's going to be a really good game. You know, I think that it's going to be a good opportunity. I mean, I think both of us are undefeated right now, so to see how that carries over. You know, at the end of the day, someone has to win, someone has to lose, and I think that game is going to come down to the wire. It's going to be competitive, and that's the best part about it. ACC lacrosse.
Yeah.
Right.
And I
All
think
right,
awesome too is like we get to, you know, see these teams again, right? Like I'm pumped, right? I mean, yeah, we lost to UVA, but we're going to get to see them again, and we're going to get to, you know, again, you can learn from these games, but you get to see these teams again, which is the coolest thing. And any given day,
Any given day.
yeah.
Well, I was telling Janine Hare the other day, there's one thing that Carolina doesn't have going into the ACC tournament that Boston College and Duke both have, and that is a lake house on Lake Norman, complimentary of the Pronti family. So,
That's awesome.
Eva, for everyone from Boston College, thanks you and your family for donating that house to us for that week, because
Yeah,
it's
of
super
course.
fun, and I know
course.
your families have one as well. So,
Yeah.
looking
No
forward to
problem.
that. But girls, thanks so much on the MD3 podcast with McKenna Davis. Our special guest today, Eva Pronti. Eva, we would love to have you back anytime we can have you back on here.
Awesome.
We drop this every Tuesday, I believe it drops, but we record it every Monday, and it's great conversation, great lax talk, and wish you guys both the best of luck this week in your games, and we'll recoup be back to you next Monday.
Yeah.
Thanks
Thank
so
you,
much.
Robin. Thank you, McKenna.
Thank you,
See you
guys.